Hi, guys. I see you joining. Hope everyone's having a good Friday. Let me just get set up here. Let's see. Sometimes my video works, sometimes it doesn't. So we'll see if everything is working today. Hey, guys, how are you? All right. So I'm super excited. We are here to talk about content marketing. Let me pull up the chat. My big goal for today, guys, is that this is really helping you kind of put some of those supplemental pieces into the live launch that you need. A lot of people are working on like content pillars and brand pillars and all of that stuff. And I really want to make sure that you guys feel like you're set up, much like my laptop is not, set up to go ahead and move forward out into your market. I also know from experience that as you're kind of working to fill your group, the things that you're putting out, if you're running organically, like let's say you're not running ads, and even if you are, there's going to be some social selling to be done there. And I want for you guys to have content that can do some of that heavy lifting for you. So I have some notes that we're going to run through kind of like the most frequently asked, questions or pain points or confusion pieces when it comes to content marketing. But like, it's to my right. Pop all of your questions and comments in that chat because this is for you guys, right? Like this is only for people that were kind enough to invite a friend in. So we have a small group here and I want to be able to get to all of your questions. So we'll run through kind of the key main pieces. We'll do a little teaching coaching session here and then we'll run through and make sure you guys are set up. So this is awesome. I can see everybody. That's why I didn't want to do slides. Hey, Brenda. Hey, Carrie, Cheryl. Oh my gosh, you guys are awesome. Yay, Desiree's here. Okay, cool. So I can see the chat. Mary, you may need to check along the bottom of your screen. I'm on my laptop, so I'm not sure what it looks like on mobile, but there's a little thing across the bottom that says chat. So you should be able to see that. Let me know. Hey, Jacqueline, how are you? Okay, cool. So let's run through kind of what we're going to talk about here. And I have, I'm not even kidding, guys. You guys that know me, this is what we do. We do the outlines and we dive right in. So if you see me looking down, it's just at my notes. We're going to talk about coming up with content, formats, and kind of like what to do, right, with content, because I think that's super important. And then distribution and ROI, because I think there's a lot of, I don't want to say misinformation, but I want to say like misperceptions, if that's the word, about what your content should be doing as a part of your business, right? So I think one of the big questions that people say, even when they're mature in their business, and more people that are further in their business ask this than you might think, but there's a lot of like, how do I come up with it? How do I know what people want to hear? Like, am I projecting too much of myself on this? What's the balance supposed to be, right? So what I always tell people is you kind of want to bring it back to what I call your content center and really looking at what the main 3 to 4 brand pillars that you want to be known for in your market. And this can look like so many different things, right? We work with business owners. We focus on business growth. Inside of that, we focus a lot on online marketing. So we do a ton with social selling. We do a ton with social media, like the difference between the lead gen and the content, right? We talk about conversions online, selling via live video. So you kind of niche yourself into those things. The good news about this, guys, your brand is always evolving. And if I can go off on a little rant with you here in just a second, I think sometimes when we're growing a business, we kind of are like, okay, here's my niche, here's my box, this is what I'm going to focus on. Okay, I just spent 2 weeks drawing up this entire avatar profile and I know everything down to their cousin's shoe size and I named them and I did all this stuff. But by the time that you've worked on all of that, it's going to change, right? So just know that your brand pillars, as you go into your business further, you're going to evolve. Your brand is going to evolve, right? So is your content. And that is a good thing. You never want to be stagnant in your business. You never want to be stagnant in your content. All of that stuff just means that you've pretty much halted yourself and you've put yourself on a plateau, right? So you want to pick your 3 to 4 brand pillars that you want to be known for. And that can be essentially key topics, right? What I want you to think about with your content is this whole idea of repetition and consistency so that you're showing your market enough that they understand what you're doing. I think sometimes, especially with the rise of Instagram, and you guys can tell me if you agree with me on this, because this is what I see, but we've gone so much to stories and micro content and quick blips and have the perfectly designed everything and blah, blah, blah. And everyone's all over the place doing all the things, but there's so many different things happening all the time that your internet goldfish brain can't latch on to something a lot of the time. I watch the Instagram stories. I don't even know what the person does. I probably followed them for recipes and end up watching the story of their life on Instagram. And there's a disconnect, right? So much like Kelly said this week, if your comfort zone is in teaching and serving, which it sounded like a lot of you guys were there in the live launch this week, like that's okay. Go there. We teach a lot of social media. We teach a lot of social selling. We teach a lot of online marketing, right? Those are the core pillars. So what I want you to think about is kind of pull out these core brand pillars. And I want you to have essentially like a topic of the week. They'll probably go together. They will probably be similar. It's much like us teaching online marketing, but then also talking about social media. They can be similar. It's okay. But for you guys, what you need to do is have enough repetition going on that your market can plug in multiple times per week and remember who you are and how you're going to help them, right? So one topic per week. Let's say you're going to talk about social selling on Instagram, right? Every single part of your business needs to follow along that topic for that week. And I'll get to the reason why I want you to break it down week by week when you're starting in just a sec. But again, what you're giving people is the ability to actually latch onto something that you do and start to weed out the people that this is very obviously not for. I get a question a lot of the time when I'm on like our coaching calls and stuff like that, where people are like, I feel like I'm attracting the wrong leads. I can't really figure out what's happening there. Like I want to go up a level and I'm kind of bringing in people lower level. It's all of that stuff, right? You will attract leads that are like, oh, spiraling spaghetti at the wall all over the place, not right for you, because you're doing the same thing. And I know that that is like not what anybody wants to hear, but it's like when I go and I audit people's social media, I'm like, I have no idea what you do. I have literally no idea what you do. It's all over the place. So when we talk about repetition and consistency, I always laugh because I'm like, it's the opposite of what people want to hear and it sounds so boring. But again, if you learn anything from me, and if there's any clients, I have to scroll through, if there's any of my clients on the line right now, and I say internet goldfish brain, you know exactly what I'm talking about because I say it nonstop. So if you're like talking about one thing today, one thing tomorrow, oh my gosh, I have to do an Instagram story. Okay, I'm going to go over here. They're not going to understand. They're not going to stick with you. There's no stickiness factor, right? 3 to 4 brand pillars, one topic per week. Give it the leverage it deserves because here's the thing. You guys are going to bring people in from the umbrella of what you do, but you need to know from your market what that very specific thing is and what the language is that they're connecting with. You want to grab those first layers of data points from that kind of testing period and then just churn it back out around, right? So I was talking to someone yesterday and we were talking about like her use of the word assertive, right? And I was like, well, test out different things because if people either connect to it or don't connect to it, that's something you want to know. So you want to have these very specific time lengths where you're talking about different topics and seeing what's kind of getting the most leverage. Here's the other thing. If you're brand new and building an audience, you need to start doing that stuff so there's something there when your audience comes. I think sometimes what happens with content for people that are newer is they're either overproducing and it's all over the place and nobody has anything to grasp onto, or they're not producing anything because they feel like, okay, well, I don't have anybody yet. But if somebody bounces over to your profile and there's nothing there, they're going to bounce right off, okay? So give yourself that week time. And when I'm talking about a week time, I mean, take all the legs of your social media and make sure that everything's working with it, right? Your Instagram grid posts, your stories, your Facebook account, right? The most important thing is having the repetition and the consistency of the topic. Do that for 4 weeks. Like I said, 3 to 4 weeks, 3 to 4 topics per week. Look at the nuances in that. What topic under your umbrella is getting the most traction? What topic under your umbrella is getting the most interest, right? What's getting clicked on? Then all you're going to do the next time, okay, cool. I know people are really into, I don't know, how to DM for a launch, right? So I'm going to talk about that the following week. So you kind of start out under your umbrella and you lean in, okay? I want to give you a couple quick tips as well. And then I see some of the chat questions coming in too. But what you want to think about again is kind of having this layered approach where, you know, you're figuring out exactly what they need. You're giving them kind of the next level of it. And then you're pairing everything that you're doing with the market validation. So I want to say that again because it sounds a little bit weird. Pairing what you're doing with market validation, and that market validation is going to come through a couple different ways, which is going to put you in this good cycle, right, of your content. You put out what you know your market needs. Oftentimes that's going to come from your own journey, your client questions, right, things like that. Questions you see people asking your competitors that are somewhat related to you. Put that stuff out there first and then just double check it, right? I think one of the most underutilized tools of people that are like, I have no idea what to put content on. I'm like, okay, so what are the podcasts in your space talking about? What are the top books in your space right now talking about, right? All you have to do is match that stuff up. That is not to say you're going out and copying, but much like we say the thing with competition, that competition's good, it means people are spending money in your area. If there's other stuff on that topic, people are spending their interest in that area, and that is good for you, because that means all you have to do is go find some people. Once again, if you guys have trained with me before, you know my philosophy. If you need people, go get people. Lucky for us, there's about 7 billion and counting in the world, and most of us need 300. Like, the odds are very much in your favor. Okay. Perfect. First time I heard about Goldfish Brain. Yeah, I don't know. Some very formal professional marketer somewhere is shaking that I said that, because it's very informal. But I mean, I'm telling you guys, think of how many times you flip through Instagram stories and stuff like that. We are trained in 10 to 15 second sprints of content. We bounce around all the time online. And sometimes when you're doing it as a user and consumer, you're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I don't do that. I look at everything. You don't. You guys don't. I know it, because I'm the same exact way. Okay. Hi, guys. This is so exciting. I'm so glad you guys are here. Yep. Phil said diet and exercise. That's perfect. Yep. Brenda said, can you give examples of brand pillars? Yeah. So for example, for us, we're going to talk about selling one-to-many with video, social media, simplifying content marketing, right? They're all kind of under this umbrella, but they're almost like the niche within your niche. So consider it like niche topics. And they can be similar. That's totally fine. What we're looking for, again, is what's the language people are connecting to and what's the thing. The other thing with the goldfish brain, the official term goldfish brain, what you'll find, guys, with your market, and Kelly touched on this in the live launch, you have to kind of get people out of their own brain space sometimes to make sense of things. And people react to things a different way, and people learn different ways. So when you're like, okay, well, I cover online marketing. If I cover everything under online marketing, how are they going to know that I don't specialize in that one thing? I can tell you, when I say social selling, some people know exactly what I'm talking about. Other people have no idea. So I'm going to have to frame these things up a couple different ways to grasp all of those people. There's other people that are going to hear that and be like, social selling, that sounds horrible. I hate sales, right? But when you say, you could be making sales in your Instagram DMs, they're like, what? That sounds incredible. So it's these different kind of dispersals of language and your own knowledge underneath your brand pillars that are going to make the difference. And I hope that makes sense. So 3 to 4 core topics that you want to be known for. Okay. Jacqueline said, how many posts a week is what you recommend weekly and daily? Yeah, Jacqueline. So I want to cover this now, because I think that's a big question. I do have that on my notes for today. Number 1, it is dependent on platform. Number 2, it's a little dependent on your market. This is the worst answer ever. And number 3, it's really dependent on overall what that platform wants you to do. So for example, and I'll give you this because I just had this conversation on Monday. I was talking to someone about Instagram strategy on Monday, and we were talking about how people used to be so concerned about grid posts. And it was your grid had to be this beautiful thing, and the grid was where everything happened. Then stories came out and really revolutionized it. And everybody was like, stories, Snapchat does that. Instagram can't do that. And Instagram was like, we're putting it at the top of the feed. We're putting it in this middle of your feed. We want you going there. And that's how people get trained to absorb that type of content. So when we talk about micro content, that's the thing, right? So what you want to do is you want to pay attention to the platform and see, okay, well, what are they pushing right now? That's step 1. Instagram, for example, we know stories are it. And anyway, back to this phone call on Monday, we were talking about the most recent algorithm change that just is if I'm going to be quite frank with you guys, it's clobbering people on Instagram. And I don't say that to scare you, because I'm not panicked about it at all. We have a great Instagram strategy. We base everything on leads and sales, not likes and comments. You will learn that. But we were talking about just people getting absolutely kind of blown out of the water in terms of Instagram. And we were like, but people are posting so much just in the grid and ignoring all of these other places that they should be posting, that this platform is we're giving you this tool. We want you to use it. And people are like, I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to do a story. That sounds hard. I've never storied before. I don't want a story, right? So you want to look at what the platform wants you to do. Instagram is a good example where they're leading with stories. They're giving more visibility to stories as well. When they came out with IGTV, they're starting to put, easier to see IGTV. They're putting it in the feed. So you want to have kind of just a general awareness of that stuff to see, what are my people actually doing? And that's why we talk a lot about when you guys have your groups built up and you have your audience, survey them to see. I had somebody jump on a coaching call with me last week, and she was like, hashtags are driving me nuts. I have no idea what to do with them. I have researched them. I have put them up. And I'm like, we've used the same hashtags for 2 years. Again, some marketer somewhere is dying inside over this. because our audience doesn't click hashtags. They're not spending hours looking through hashtags. They're not following hashtags, right? That for us is not the thing. So when we talk about how many posts per week or how many times per week, number one, you have to look at, okay, well, what platforms am I on? What do they want me to do? But what's my audience doing? So to bring it back around, we know that a grid post, yeah, we put it up to keep the grid format. That's great and all, whatever. People are watching stories and they're watching IGTV. So we need to put our attention there first. Stories, because they're so short and sweet and they're meant to be this quick blip, you're going to win the game by doing that daily, which is part one. Having calls to action, doing all that is part two. And then IGTV is like your longer content as well that Facebook's kind of or Instagram is constantly pushing, right? We know Facebook, if we hop over there. We don't want to have a dead business page, right? If somebody goes to your page, you don't want nothing there. But should you be posting multiple times a day on a business page? No, because the visibility is simply not there, okay? So again, it's like looking at those platforms, and sometimes you need like an outside person to be like, yeah, like I study this stuff, right? Like, okay, here's what we're seeing, here's what we're testing, here's what I want you to distill out to you. Same thing there. Survey your audience. If your people are not on Twitter, don't go tweeting. Like you don't even need to do it because they're not there. So Jacqueline, I will send you, we have a weekly marketing checklist that breaks down everything that we're doing on social media. Be sure to look for those things in your market as well, because you have to gauge the platform. A lot of people are kind of fighting this uphill battle because they don't want to adapt and evolve with the platforms. And again, like that's part one. Part two is obviously we measure everything by leads and sales. We're not just storying to story. But when we're looking at frequency and where to put your focus, those kind of key elements are important. So if you guys can't tell, like this is my life. I love this stuff and I love to rant about it and I love to nerd out about it. So I'm hoping that this is kind of exciting for you because like the conversations that are happening out there, they're not this. They're like, here's how to do a story and here's how to make your grid look pretty. And it's like the people that are doing that, some of them have these amazing businesses. There's a lot of people that are not getting any sales from it. And that's kind of the focus that we need to put on this content and why we're saying like have these brand pillars, right? Let people know exactly what you stand for. Let them latch onto it. And then you can start to pull them in because they get it. And that's what you want. You want leads that get it. You don't want to fill a group with leads that are like, it's cool. I don't know what she is. I don't know who she is. You know, I just got this thing on a Facebook ad. It seemed cool. You know what I mean? Okay. Hey, Mary. I used to say attract dream clients and I would attract people with now clients, maybe new clients. Therefore, no money and couldn't afford me. LOL. I do personal branding to increase leads. Yeah. So Mary, one of the things that we work with people on is when you're doing your marketing and you're doing client attraction, you want to actually go up 1 to 2 levels from who you're trying to target. Because what happens is like your marketing trickles down. And you want to think about it in a way where like people aspire to go up, or you want the people that are aspiring to go up. You don't want anyone that's just like, I'll stay, I'll settle. So for example, let's say you want to work with 6-figure entrepreneurs. Your content should be having the conversation that 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs are having, because the people that are at 6, they're reaching for that. That's where they want to be. That's what they're going to connect to. They're not the people that are like, all right, I got here, I'm good. You know what I mean? So it trickles down. And so a lot of times when people are like, okay, I'm going to talk to kind of the most basic things sometimes, you know, you're going to get people that are super lower level because they're like, oh, I just want to figure out that first step, right? And you're like, wait, I want people that have that first step. Like, how do I get there? So you want to market 1 to 2 levels up from your ideal client, trickle down. Okay. Hey, Kelly, how are you? Okay, Kelly Bryant, when you say posting to Facebook, do you mean in the group or the business page or both? Your group is where your best stuff is going to happen. This is like your headquarters. It's your exclusive club, right? It is the country club of Kelly Bryant. So what you want to do is all your best stuff's going to happen in the group. Same thing, follow your topic of the week. Everything else is breadcrumbs, right? So your group is your powerhouse. And that's why I want to do the live launch for like, get everybody in there. So let's say you're going to do a story on Instagram, like a quick tip. Hey, if you love this topic, we're teaching more of it in our Facebook group. Swipe up or head to the link in my bio or whatever. So everything out is breadcrumbs and you're pulling them back into your group. The business page, Facebook still has them. You need them to advertise. Everybody needs one, right? But when you're going like, okay, I'm going to put my best content on my business page, you're working kind of that uphill battle to get people to see it. So you can use that as breadcrumbs to get people back in. There's going to be some other more powerful platforms, I think. Like for us, Instagram's a really good one. Bringing people in. The podcast is a good one to bring people in. But you're constantly balancing, right? You never want to put all of your eggs in one basket because if something were to happen, you're kind of SOL. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. But you want to have kind of this dispersed content strategy. Here's the other thing. You're going to have people, if you guys have heard Kelly talk about the whole concept of download in a day, if you have somebody coming to you that's interested, they're in the mindset where they're like, let me check this out. I need to know what this is. I need to know this is for me. We have people that come in and they're like, I just listened to 5 podcast episodes. I'm like, oh my God, that's like an hour to an hour and a half of podcasting. And they're like, I couldn't stop. Like, I was in this frame of mind that I needed this thing and I found it, right? And that's why Instagram's pushing IGTV. Shailene Johnson's talking about IGTV. People are going and they're watching this content, but they're watching multiples at a time. So you want to be capturing those people and just make sure, again, that like you're giving them enough outside that they want to come in and get the good stuff on the inside. Okay. Hey, Carrie, how are you? Oop, I think I skipped one. Oh, Cheryl, I skipped you. I will come right back. Sorry about that. Okay, Carrie said, is posting to stories better than to profile since they disappear after one day? So it's not that it's better per se, because your market's going to tell you what's better. What we're saying though is like Instagram, for example, is bumping all of the stories to the top of the feed and making it kind of that most obvious thing. And like, let's say you story at like a 7 a.m. By the end of the day, you're all the way to the back. So if you're looking for some of that repetition, adding something to your story will bump you back up. Whereas if you're posting in the news feed, even if somebody comments it, it's not always going to bump it back up. So it's not necessarily that it's like better. You might have people that are like, oh my God, I love her Instagram profile. I go there and I just check the posts and I read them and I comment. Like, you'll have people that are very active there, but you want to look at the platform as well and say, okay, well, what are my power levers here? How do I get people to get the full experience of whatever my profile is, right? So what I would say to that is build out kind of your Instagram story strategy. And we talked about this a lot in the Unstoppable program, because your stories need to give people recognition of who you are, but it's also kind of like this revolving door of stuff. Like, you should have like 20 things that you're re-promoting all the time in stories, and it's just that repetition, right? So it's new and it's ongoing, happening all the time. And you can repurpose a lot of that stuff too, because they disappear in a day. Like, your one story is not going to stay with someone for the next 3 years. So you want to have that stuff rotating. Okay, cool. Cheryl said, so we post basically the same information each day on the different social channels, or different information related to our daily or weekly topic. So I want you to think a little bit about the format of this stuff. Like, let's say, for example, okay, so day 2 of the live launch, Kelly was doing all things lead generation. She did a core video in the group that was like it was actual teaching, right? It's like a coaching session. That's the main thing. If we were to disperse that back out, we might do like one quick tip in an Instagram story. Our Instagram caption might be about the power of building groups, and hey, we're teaching it in our Facebook group, right? So you take your one topic and it's different angles of everything and different positioning, and then you're driving them back to the headquarters. Does that make sense? Okay. Hey, Christy, how are you? Okay. Christy said, I have a question about Instagram. I get the whole thing on Facebook and having a professional page and then a private group. My name is my brand. I'm a life coach. So as I start my business, will I use my existing Instagram account to do posts and stories, or do I start another one? So that really comes down to you. So if you're branding yourself, I think you're good to keep your name on it. I will tell you though, like, that stuff can change. We're in the process of doing that. Like, Kelly always tells the story when she started the business in 2012. She was like, I spent all this time and money with this branding expert and I hated every single name we came up with. She was like, you can go around and around and around on names. She's like, finally, I was like, I got a business to launch. Call it Kelly Roach Coaching, right? And so now what we're doing as our company has grown and evolved and it's gotten bigger, like, we're branding everything under that Unstoppable umbrella. So what I would say is, what do you want to brand right now? I do think when you're new, it's good for recognition, especially with the rise of stories and live video and things like that. If it gets you out there faster to brand your name, go for it. You can always update and change that later as your brand evolves. What I would say though is make sure that you have an Instagram account up or set up as like a business account. That way you kind of have some distinction there and you kind of have like a professional grid. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Hey Nev, how are you? If you have a brand new group, no members, or 20 friends, how often should you post to it? And where else should you post your awareness content? So let's say you're setting up a group and it's just like there's nothing in it. You're just kind of getting it up to go. What I would put in it, Nev, is I would put a welcome video. So whenever you do have somebody who joins, you can tag them in that welcome video. Make it like 2.5 minutes, just like, hey, this is me. This is what the group is for. I would try and upload like 3 videos into it just so there's something there. And maybe like twice a week, put like some type of image or something in it. Now, that being said, I want to make sure that you're driving people into the group and not just posting to the group with no people. So your priority number one is getting those people in. Just put up some baseline content so there's something to consume there. And then as your people start to come in, do your weekly show, and then you're adding it in a very specific block where you're kind of doing two birds with one stone, right? You're nurturing your people and engaging with them, building up that rapport, and then adding that content into your feed. Okay, where else should you post your awareness content? Everywhere and anywhere. Like we said, everything's kind of like breadcrumbs back into your group. So again, just distill out that info, get that curiosity, and then bring them back to home base. I like your vintage doorknob. Yeah, can you guys see it? Wait, there we go. We have skeleton keys. Cool. It's like the coolest thing ever. If I ever move out of this house, I'm definitely taking one with me and making like a Christmas ornament or something. Okay. Hey, Mary again. If I market to 7, 8-figure entrepreneurs but haven't reached that yet, I almost feel sleazy because I don't know their needs as much and feeling a little confused. How do you suggest getting clear on your marketing message since it trickles down? So what I'll tell you, for example, is you don't necessarily have to attach the monetary value of it, but what I want you to think about is their mindset and their goals. Like I can tell you there's a very different mindset between people that are focused on tactical setup and getting things running, and people that are like, I'm strategically looking at the direction of my business for the next 5 years, and I pretty much know what's going to happen there. So even for us, for example, like our different programs, like our $1 Million Launch Club is different from Unstoppable. It's different priorities, it's different stages, but they're having a much different conversation about their business and their goals and where it's going than people that are in that client growth and client acceleration period. So you want to look at the qualitative aspect of it almost versus the quantitative, and just shift the conversation upward. And people to look at, if you're like kind of thinking about the differences, like look at an Allie Brown, for example. Like she works with top tier women. Those are top tier conversations for that level. So you want to do some comparisons on that and say like, okay, we're not talking about getting set up on Pinterest. Like we're talking about global impact or something like that. You know what I mean? Okay. Hey, Desiree, how are you? Okay, I have 1,500 on my business page and I'm going to invite them to my group. Any tips? Yeah, definitely. So I think the easiest thing there is number one, check if any of them have already engaged with you in your business inbox or your notifications, because you can reach out to them that way. Otherwise, I would set up an ad, $5 a day, set it to reach those people and just let them know, because you're not able to reach out to them via a business page, but you can put $5 behind that and reach them that way. Anybody who's already interacted with you, you can. Okay. Hey, Crystal, how are you? Okay, I have a question on where to build my Facebook profile and put my energy to build leads in my profile. I have a personal Facebook page, mostly personal life as a winery owner. Okay. Where should I focus? I feel, okay, so Crystal, you said you have your personal page, oh, and then your business page. So Crystal, for you, you're going to want to focus on your business page because Facebook does not like people who are building and branding and everything on their personal page. It kind of goes against like what the whole point of the business page is. So you might have prospects connected to you on your personal page, get them over to your professional page and get them into a group. You sometimes have to play by the rules with Facebook. We all know how kind of finicky they can be, but going forward as well as your business grows, you're going to want to separate that stuff out. There's just something about like for me, like I have like pictures of family and stuff like that. And that's not stuff I just love to share publicly all the time, like my baby nephew. So you're going to want to have that very clear distinction. Also, if you ever get to a point where you're advertising, you're going to want to have that business page. And don't feel scattered. Luckily, there's not a ton of options on Facebook. It's more of getting the system. Okay, cool. Let's see. Yep, Crystal, I tried to launch on my Facebook page. You know what? It's one of those things too, guys, where like, and I think about this stuff all day. So if you're like, how does she just like say that? Like, this is literally my job. But when people land on a Facebook page, it's open, right? When we talk about creating your group and creating this environment, there's a very specific reason for that, because people need a place to show up. When it's this like open public forum, it feels different than like going into the group that you're like, oh my God, like this is my tribe of unstoppables. Like I'm seeing the same people in the comments. Like I'm showing up for this thing. So sometimes what it is number one, it's a reach. We know business pages are not getting great reach. And number two, it's very easy for people to kind of like flow in and out because it's this open forum. Does that make sense? Okay. Kelly, the weekly show. So the weekly show is like one time per week. Some people do more. It totally depends on you and your audience. We do Training Tuesdays in the tribe. So you show up once per week, same time, same date, teach something, add value, right? Do all the things. Let's see. Oops, sorry, I'm scrolling up. I'm getting all of them. Okay. Yes, professional name, perfect. Brenda, every time I run Facebook ads and identify my target market, I always get folks that are not my target market. I'm concerned if I try and fill a group, it will be people that are not in my target market. Brenda, that's something that I work with people on, because I would need to see your copy and your creative to see like what this is. There's so much that goes into that as well in terms of like audience targeting too. So what I would say is like get with someone who can help you with that so you can get that system down, and then you'll be able to run ads and feel good about it. I think a lot of people feel like Facebook ads are kind of like the wild, wild west. So get someone that has that expertise behind you. I work with our clients on this a lot, and sometimes there's very specific, crafting towards the internet brain in terms of copy that's super important. Okay. Crystal, should I create a professional page? Crystal, whatever you decide to brand with for your Instagram, I would pull that over into all of your elements for repetition. Again, you can always change those as you grow, but to get started, totally go for it. Okay. Kelly, for my next launch, I'm making lots of money. It's not when, it's you will. Like, you are going to do it. It's not like, oh, I'm going to do it in the future. You will. You have the system. You're good to go. I want to hire a VA to do some of the connecting the way you and Cynthia do. Any suggestions for hiring that person? Yeah, so Kelly's book, Bigger Than You, talks all about the entrepreneur's guide to building a dream team. So I would really look at that. Go back through Unstoppable Success Radio as well. She has a lot of team-based episodes. Our Legacy Leaders Mastermind is all team-focused. So we have a ton of resources on that. Kelly, you want someone with a sales and marketing background and someone who's like a people person. Quite honestly, there's a lot of people connection if you guys can't tell from this week. So you need to find someone who really thrives and enjoys that environment. Okay, Christy. All right. I haven't used Instagram much to new to stories and TV. Yep, stories are just like these quick little 10 to 15 second blips you go through. All right. Oh, Nev, yep. Nev, so you'll have a welcome video in the feed of your Facebook group, and you'll just type their name in, it'll pop up and you can click it. That tags them. They get a notification, it'll say like Stephanie Euler tagged you in a welcome video. Okay, cool. Christy. Since I'm new to stuff, do you have a resource I should use to learn more about good stories in IGTV? Yeah, Christy, I mean, shoot me a DM about the Unstoppable program. I work with people on this every Tuesday and Thursday. So in terms of good resources, we can totally help you with that. Just shoot me a quick, like, hey, like, remind me, send me an overview of it, because I can definitely do that. And Mary Morgan, it was Allie Brown, A-L-I. So instead of Ellie, just want to make sure I give you the A versus the E. Yep, Carrie got it in there. Perfect. Glambition Radio. Yeah, Kelly was on that. We actually, I think some of you might even be from that. We had a lot of people that came in after that interview. Cheryl said, if trying to build a group, how many days a week would you go live? So, I mean, you want to have your weekly show. I would say 1 to 2 is fine. You don't have to overkill it. I think for a lot of people, like, their target market is very busy. So for you to have to like show up every day and do that, number one, you're churning out like a ton of content, which after a while you're going to be like, can I just like reuse a video? Like, I did this one time and I got no leverage. But you want to give people enough to kind of look forward to. So like set your schedule and go. And I hate saying like you're training your people, but you kind of are in a way. Okay, cool. So we talked about how to come up with content. Let me see where I'm at with time. Perfect. We talked a little bit about, guys, like not kind of fighting this uphill battle in terms of content. There's so many people out there. Like, I've done content interviews with some of you guys. I literally have reached out to tribe members and I'm like, can we talk for 15 minutes? I want to interview you about the content you consume, how you consume it, right? So look at those top podcasts, look at those top books, ask your people, go back to your own personal experience as well. Like, what did you need to know on the way to your journey? Many of you are in a service-based business of some sort that's meant to help people. That was essentially the old you, right? Or it's something you went through that you know you can help people with. Sometimes we move so quickly that we disconnect ourselves from that actual journey. So that's another great way to look. And again, we're testing to get the language. So when we talk about that topic of the week, you're trying a couple different formats there to see like where your people are at and then what they're most connecting to. It's data points. Let's see, like goldfish brain and data points. If you guys get anything out of this, I hope those two stick with you. Okay. The last point that I want to cover with you guys today is this whole idea of getting rid of vanity metrics. So if you're getting rid of vanity metrics and you are with me, type it in the chat, no more vanity metrics. We're looking at leads and sales. And people have a lot of questions about this from Instagram because we were like late adopters to Instagram. I think we finally got our account in like November 2017. Like, we were really late to the game in terms of most people. And we were not like, if you can scroll back on our feed, we don't care. But if you look at some of those early posts, like we didn't know what the heck we were doing. Nobody knows what they're doing when they start, right? So when we were figuring a lot of that out, I was like, okay, so how do I figure out exactly like what needs to go here? We would start messaging all of our new followers, right? And what's really funny about that is we end up getting leads and sales out of it, not just content. So when you're putting out your content, I really want you guys to be thinking about engagement and calls to action and building what we call a 360-degree marketing system. Carrie, vanity metrics are like likes and comments. So when people are like, I put up a post and I got 100 likes, but nothing happened after that. And I'm like, great, did you get any leads? Do you know if they're leads, right? Usually there's some question marks there. So what you want to think about again is like in every single story, are you directing people back to your group? Are you giving a quick tip and then asking them to DM you, right? Are you giving them links to something to opt into a marketing checklist? You want to be pulling people off the platform all the time. People that are not leads and are not into it, they're not going to come with you, but the people that are with you, they will. And so at the end of the day, again, we talked about the Instagram algorithm thing, and it was like people are getting clobbered. The ones that are doing it to get leads and sales, though, they're fine. That's why we've never panicked about Instagram, because it's a lead generation system. It's not like, oh my gosh, I just want people to comment on that, right? Okay, cool. Oh, Carrie, it's kind of like another Stephism. I'm laying it on thick with you guys with these Stephisms today. We call it a 360-degree marketing ecosystem, which means that like somebody who's in your Facebook group, they should be connected with you on Instagram, or they should also be on your email list, or they should also be listening to your podcast. You never want somebody to just stand very solo in one thing. Like, you guys are doing the work to put this stuff out there, like get these people in, into your ecosystem. So they're always kind of going back and forth and seeing you. A lot of times what happens with people when they're making any type of purchasing decision, or they're looking at who to follow or who to continue to follow and things like that, they're looking for the people that are memorable, right? And if you're not memorable, unfortunately, in the online game, like, it's going to be a hard battle, right? So if you can do those things that stick with people and get them to stick to you and build rapport and make them feel like you know exactly what they're talking about, like, you will have your people and you'll attract your tribe every single time. So hopefully that makes sense. So no more vanity metrics. We are looking at leads and sales. You can do that through calls to action in your content. I want you guys to be DMing new followers. I want you to be talking to the people in your group about the content they want. I want you to be replying to people that comment on your live videos, right? Pull those people in, get them into that ecosystem. And I hope that that makes sense for you guys. So we teach this extensively in the Unstoppable program. If you guys have questions for that, definitely let me know. We are now an open cart. I work with people on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and this is like a huge chunk of what we work on every single week. It's totally my bread and butter. I have fun with this. I hope you guys can sense that we love what we do. And I hope that we get to work with you in the program. So thank you guys so, so much for an awesome session. I hope this gave you some breakthroughs. I hope it gave you some food for thought. I hope it's changing like some mindsets and encouraging you to get out there. And I will see you in the tribe shortly, 2 hours. Kelly's live at 5 p.m. So I will see you guys soon. Thank you so, so much for joining, and have a great weekend.